Hi, welcome to round 2 of dominant 7th chords. I realized when I posted my first video on this topic that my hand position, I was playing kind of like back like this, and the majority of you couldn't see the chord shapes that I was making, so it wasn't a very helpful video. So I took that one down and we're going to put this one up in its place. And I'm going to make sure that you can see the chord shapes nice and clearly. First, let's start off with, what are we talking about? We're talking about dominant chords. If we're talking about a major scale, every scale tone has its own chord quality, major or minor or dominant. The 5th chord of the key is the only dominant chord in a major key. However, blues music breaks that rule and it uses dominant chords for everything. It doesn't have a 1 major chord and a 4 major chord and a 5 dominant chord. It does 1 dominant, 4 dominant, 5 dominant. So what is a dominant chord? All chord qualities, major, minor, or dominant, are defined by the 3rd and 7th chord tones. So the guitar is tuned to an open E minor chord, root, 5th, minor 7, minor 3rd, 5th, root. So these two strings in the middle, that's your 7 and your 3rd, 7th and 3rd, minor 7th, minor 3rd in this case, and that's what gives you the chord quality. If I bring this first finger down and make that minor 3rd a major 3rd, let me show you what that looks like right there. Right, that's our E dominant 7th chord. So we're going to go through a bunch of different shapes. Down in the open position, it's like every dominant chord has its own different shape. This is going to lead us to an introduction in what's called the caged, C-A-G-E-D, method of visualizing guitar shapes as you go up the neck. Instead of relearning all new shapes from open position to closed position, if you simply take your open position chords and bar at the open string and then put your chord fingerings down, you can move them up the neck in closed positions. Let me show you what I mean. So here's our E dominant 7 played with our 2nd finger on the 5th, right, and the root is open. If we barred that with our 1st finger, we would play the 5th with our 3rd finger, and we would play the major 3rd up here with our 2nd finger. Let's slide that up to the E at the 12th fret and see if it works. So we go up here to the E at the 12th fret, and there is our, what's called our E shape. So notice it looks like an open E, just with a bar right here. So we could play that E shape on E, D, C, B, A, G, F, right? So it doesn't matter, the shape is just an E shape, but it can be any chord. That's your standard closed position chord starting on the E string. Okay, so 2 things you're going to see. One is minor shaped chords, which are the root being played with the 1st finger, and then it has a minor 3rd right here. Second is the major shaped chords, where the root is played with the 2nd finger, and then it has a major 3rd of the chord right there. It's on the E string, that shape is a little muddy, okay? It tends to work better on the A string. And on the A string, because the B is tuned differently, when your root's on the A string, you can use that B string to play ninths, which is a very popular addition note to a dominant seventh chord. So here's the dominant seventh chord, and here's the ninth. Very jazzy. You can also do the sharp 9, the Hendrix chord. Okay, so two different versions: minor shape, major shape. Okay, so we've done our E open and E closed. Let's look at F, and I'm going to do that closed shape that I just did, the E shape, but starting my first finger on the F. Now, if you're playing acoustic, this is a pretty hard chord to bar. Barring that first finger up at the first fret takes a lot of hand strength. So a lot of people substitute this chord for the higher version of the chord. You simply put your third finger on the octave right there and play the upper portion of the chord. So instead of barring all the way across, you're just barring the top 3 strings. Same sounding chord, same chord tones, just much easier to play than trying to bar the whole thing. It's up to you. G, here's our standard G cowboy chord, open chord. And we're going to take this octave note here with our pinky, and we're going to replace it with our first finger at the first fret of the E string, and that gives us the G7. Root, major third, fifth, root, third, minor 7. Now we can also play that G this way. And if you want to, you can play it this way. If you want to get the ninth in there, you can play it with your third finger. And we would call this the C shape, because the C chord looks like that, played with the third finger on the root. So we could play that same chord shape, but bringing the first finger up to the second fret. Okay. Not a lot of people use that. It's not really as very popular of a chord shape, but it's there for you if you want it. Next, let's go to A. So A, if we're playing in an open position, is generally played with the second finger on the second fret. We're going to play open A, and then the fifth, second fret of the D string, and then the seventh, open G string, and then we're playing on the B string, right? So there's our A7 chord. Now, if we bar that down here, we would have to use our third finger and our pinky, like that. So let's move that up. Let's just move it up to this D here. And now we've got a dominant 7th chord for all of our chords that begin on a A string, with their root on the A string. Okay, so that is the A shape. D7 in the A shape. Alright? Now let's go to B. We could do it a couple of ways. We could do the, the closed, the B shape, the A shape, like we just did. We could do that one. We could do the C shape. It's actually, I consider this the D shape. And I'll show you why in a minute when we get to the D chord. So here's your D shape with the 9th. Sharp 9. See that? Can you see it? That's one way to play a B7. It's another way to play the B7. Let's go to C. So our C shape, we talked about this a moment ago, is root with the third finger, major third with the second finger, minor seventh with the pinky, and then the first finger goes down at the first fret to play the root again. And this is another movable chord. So this is the C shape on C, D, E, F, G, right? So it's all the same. It's still a dominant chord, dominant seventh chord. It's just a different voicing. It's a different shape. Now let's do D. We were just talking about that. So remember I told you this on the C chord is the D shape, right? Because now if we look at the D, if we play it open, it looks like this. Our open D, second finger on the fifth, first finger on the B string for a seventh, minor seventh, and then third finger on the high E string, second fret, for our major third. But if we were going to bar that, not say open version, but if we were going to bar it, we would have our third finger on the fifth, second finger on the minor seventh, and pinky up there on the third, and we can move that up. So any dominant chord that begins on the D string with its root on the D string, open, I'm a closed position chord. Let's look real quick at the chords that have their roots on the E, A, D, and G string, because they're very close to being the same chord. Let's start here with the A. So here's our A dominant seventh chord, root, fifth, minor seventh, third, fifth, root. Now we're going to go up one string to the A, and we're going to keep these two first notes are the same, right? First finger, third finger. But we're going to add the pinky on the B string. Right, there's our dominant seventh chord right there, A shape. Now we go up to the D string, and we put our note right there on this G. Now, we have the same as the A shape, right? With it almost exactly the same. But we put this second finger down on the B string, and there is our dominant chord for chords whose root begins on the D string. Now, if you have chords that begin on the G string, we can't get a full dominant chord. All we can get is well, you can if you play the note below it. If you put the fifth in the bass, you can get a 4-note chord. But I'm just saying with the root here, root, major third, one string above, and then you put your second finger down one fret above, and there's your minor seventh. So those 3 notes is your dominant seventh chord. You could add this note right below the root, which is the fifth, and play a little fuller sounding chord, 4-note chord, fifth, root, third, minor seventh. So another way to play a dominant chord. Okay, so we covered E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Let's look at kind of a 12-bar blues and different ways of approaching these different chord voicings. Let's play in G, right? We're working on a song moving towards playing Mean Old World, which is a blues in G. So we've got our G chord, G7. We've got our C7, right? And then that goes up to our D7. So I'm just going to play a little bit on the 1, go to the 4 with the A shape, back to the 1, go to the 5 with the A shape, okay, now I'm going to do the C shape, okay, for the 4 and 5 chord. Here's the 1 chord, go to the C shape for the 4 chord, and go to the C shape for the 5 chord, the D, down to the C, down to the G. Now I'm going to do the D shape chords, this one, with the 9th on it. I always add the 9th because it just sounds better. It's a hip sounding tone, and if you have the 9 down, you can always just go to the sharp 9, you're ready for it. So here's the 1 to the 4, back to the 1, to the 5, you can even mix them up. Play the 1 this way, play the 4, the A shape, back to the 1, and then for the turnaround at the 5, I'm going to play the D shape. So those are the versions. There may be more, but those are the most commonly used chord grips, chord shapes for dominant 7th chords. Thanks.